Danny Cole was tired. He had been working for 18 hours straight, fixing broken pipes and checking power lines deep inside the space station called Horizon Point. His back hurt. His eyes burned. All he wanted was to fall into his bed and sleep for a very long time. The station was huge. It floated in deep space far from Earth, and it was home to thousands of people from many different worlds. Humans lived here alongside aliens, and they worked together to keep the peace between their species. Danny was just a simple engineer. He fixed things that broke. He did not care about politics or diplomacy. He just wanted to do his job and go home. The hallways all looked the same to him. Walls, dim lights, doors that looked exactly like every other door. Danny had been given temporary quarters on Deck 14 while he worked on this section of the station. He had only slept there twice, and he still was not sure which door was his. He stopped in front of a door that looked right. He was so tired that his vision was blurry. He swiped his access card, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Danny stepped inside, already pulling off his dirty work jacket. Then he stopped. The room was not empty. A woman stood by the large window that looked out into space, but she was not a human woman. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with long limbs and silver skin that seemed to glow softly in the starlight. Her hair was like white silk, falling down her back. When she turned to look at him, Danny saw her eyes. They were violet, deep and bright, like 2 purple stars. She was a Danny had seen before, but always from a distance. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They lived for 1,000 years. They were smarter than humans, stronger than humans, and they thought humans were little more than clever animals. They had only recently agreed to work with humanity, and the alliance was still fragile. And Danny had just walked into one of their rooms without knocking. His heart began to pound. He took a step backward, his jacket still hanging off one shoulder. "I am so sorry," he said quickly. "Wrong room. I will leave right now." He turned to go, but the door had already closed behind him. He reached for the panel to open it, but the woman spoke. "Wait." Her voice was strange and beautiful. It sounded like wind blowing through glass chimes. Danny froze with his hand in the air. He was afraid to move. He was afraid to breathe. The woman studied him. Her violet eyes moved slowly over his face, his body, his dirty uniform. She did not seem angry. She seemed curious, like a scientist looking at an interesting bug. "You are the engineer," she said, "the one who fixed the air recyclers on Deck 9. Danny blinked. "How do you know about that?" "The council spoke of it. The recyclers had been broken for 2 weeks. Our best technicians could not repair them. Then a human fixed the problem in 3 hours. She tilted her head to one side. They did not expect that. Danny felt his face grow warm. It was just a stuck valve, nothing special. It was not just a stuck valve. She took a step toward him. Her movements were smooth and graceful, like water flowing. The valve was stuck because of a design flaw in the cooling system. You did not just unstick it. You redesigned the entire flow path. Our engineers checked your work. They said it was better than the original. Danny did not know what to say. He had just done what made sense to him. He did not think anyone had noticed. The woman gestured to a chair near the window. "Sit," she said. "I wish to understand how your kind thinks." Danny stayed where he was. "I should really go. If someone sees me leaving your room, there will be trouble." "There will be no trouble. I am Ra, third daughter of the High Council. No one will question my choices." She sat down in a chair across from the one she had offered him. "Sit, please." Danny hesitated. Every part of his brain told him to leave. This was dangerous. This was stupid. But something in her voice made him stay. Maybe it was the way she said please. He had never heard a say please before. He sat down. Ra watched him settle into the chair. The furniture was made for someone much taller than him, and his feet barely touched the floor. He felt like a child sitting at a grown-up table. "Why do humans laugh when they are nervous?" she asked. The question surprised him. What? When you entered and saw me, you almost laughed. I saw it in your face, but you were clearly afraid. Why would fear make you want to laugh? Danny thought about it. No one had ever asked him something like this before. I do not know, he admitted. I think maybe it is because laughing feels better than screaming. When something scares us, we have to do something with that feeling. Laughing lets it out without making things worse. Ra considered this. Fascinating. Among my people, we are taught to suppress such reactions. Emotion is considered a weakness. It clouds judgment. Maybe, Danny said, but it also makes life worth living. She tilted her head again. Explain. And so he did. He talked about growing up on a farm in Nebraska, about the smell of rain on dry earth, about his mother who taught him to fix tractors and told him stories about the stars. He talked about his sister Amy, who had been a soldier, who had died in the colony wars 5 years ago. He talked about grief and how it never really went away, but how you learned to carry it. He talked for hours. The stars wheeled slowly past the window. Ra listened to every word. She asked questions. She wanted to know everything. When Danny finally stopped talking, he realized that the station's artificial dawn was beginning to glow through the viewport. He had been in her room all night. He stood up quickly. I have to go, I am sorry. I did not mean to stay so long. Ra rose from her chair. She was so much taller than him. You did not ask permission to stay. Danny looked at her. You did not ask me to leave. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Then something happened that Danny had never seen before. The silver skin around her mouth curved slightly upward. She was smiling. No, she said softly, I did not. Danny walked to the door. It slid open for him. He stepped out into the empty hallway and looked back at her one more time. Good night, Ra. Good night, Danny Cole. The door closed between them. Danny stood there for a moment, his heart beating fast. Then he walked away to find his real room, knowing that something had just changed, and he would never be able to change it back. Danny could not stop thinking about her. He tried. He went back to work the next day and fixed a broken water pump on Deck 7. He replaced some old wiring on Deck 12. He ate lunch with his friend Greg Harper in the station cafeteria and pretended everything was normal. But it was not normal. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw violet. Every time someone spoke, he heard wind through glass chimes. Greg noticed something was wrong. You look like you did not sleep at all, he said, chewing on a sandwich. What happened to you? Danny shook his head. Nothing, just tired. You are always tired. This is different. Greg leaned forward. Did you meet someone? Danny felt his face grow hot. He looked down at his food. No. Greg laughed. You are a terrible liar, Danny. Your ears turn red when you lie. They are red right now. Danny touched his ear. It was warm, he sighed. I walked into the wrong room last night. Whose room? A diplomat. Greg stopped chewing. He put down his sandwich slowly. Please tell me you are joking. I wish I was. Danny, Greg's voice was low and serious. Do you know how much trouble you could be in? They barely tolerate us. If they think a human was bothering one of their diplomats, they could use it as an excuse to break the alliance. I know, Danny said, but she did not seem angry. She wanted to talk. Talk about what? Danny thought about the long night, about all the questions she had asked, about how she had listened to every word he said. About humans, he said. About how we think, how we feel. She said her people are taught to suppress emotion. She wanted to understand why we do not. Greg stared at him for a long moment, then he shook his head. You are in deep trouble, my friend, deep, deep trouble. Danny knew Greg was right, but that did not stop him from hoping he would see her again. 3 days passed. Danny worked. He ate. He slept. He did not go anywhere near Deck 14. He told himself that the night in her room was just a strange accident, something that would never happen again. Then he found a message on his personal terminal. It was from her. The message was short, just a few words. "The console in my quarters is broken. I require a human engineer. Come at 2100 hours. Danny read the message 5 times. His heart was beating so fast he could feel it in his throat. He knew he should ignore it. He knew he should report it to his supervisor and let someone else handle it. Instead, he went. Ra was waiting for him when the door opened. She was wearing a different robe tonight, dark blue with silver patterns that matched her skin. She looked at him with those violet eyes, and Danny forgot how to breathe. "Thank you for coming," she said. Danny walked into the room. He looked around and saw the console she had mentioned. It was sitting on a table near the wall. He walked over to it and turned it on. It worked perfectly. He turned to look at her. "There is nothing wrong with this console." "I know." She sat down in the same chair she had used before. "I wanted to see you again. I did not know how else to ask." Danny felt something warm bloom in his chest. He tried to push it down. This was dangerous. This was crazy, but he sat down anyway. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you want to see me?" Ra was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. "I have lived for 312 years. In all that time, I have never met anyone like you." Danny almost laughed. "I am nothing special. I am just a guy who fixes things." "That is not true," she leaned forward. "When you spoke last night about your mother, your sister, your home, I felt something. I do not know how to describe it. My people would call it a weakness, a flaw in my emotional control. But it did not feel like weakness. It felt like waking up." Danny did not know what to say. He had spent his whole life feeling ordinary, average, just another human in a galaxy full of aliens who were smarter, stronger, and older than him. And here was this incredible being, this daughter of the High Council, telling him that he had made her feel alive. "Tell me more," she said. "Tell me about human love." Danny took a deep breath. This was a big question. "Love is complicated," he said slowly. "It is not just one thing. There is the love you feel for your family, the love you feel for your friends, and then there is the love you feel for someone special, someone who makes you want to be better than you are. How do you know when you feel it?" Danny thought about this. "You just know. It is like being hungry or being tired. You cannot explain it to someone who has never felt it. You just feel it deep in your chest like a fire that will not go out." Ra pressed her hand against her own chest. "I think I understand." They talked for hours again. Danny told her about his first crush, a girl named from his who had red hair and freckles. He told her about his first heartbreak when moved away and he thought his life was over. He told her about learning that hearts can heal, that pain can make you stronger, that love is worth the risk even when it hurts. Ra told him about her people. She explained that used to feel things the way humans did long ago. But their emotions were so powerful that they nearly destroyed themselves. They had wars that lasted centuries. They had grief that drove whole cities to madness. So they learned to suppress their feelings, to lock them away, to live by logic alone. "But something was lost," she admitted. "We became cold, empty. We live for 1,000 years, but many of us do not truly live at all. We just exist." Danny reached out and touched her hand. Her silver skin was cool and smooth like polished metal. She did not pull away. "Maybe it is not too late to feel again," he said. Ra looked at his hand on hers. Then she looked at his face. Her violet eyes were bright with something that might have been tears if could cry. "Maybe you are right," she whispered. Outside the window, the stars continued their slow dance through the void. Neither of them noticed. They were too busy discovering something that neither species had expected. They were discovering each other. When Danny finally left as the artificial dawn began, he stopped at the door and looked back at her. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked. Ross smiled. It was easier for her now, more natural. "Same time tomorrow." Danny walked back to his quarters with a smile on his own face. He knew this was dangerous. He knew this could end badly. But for the first time in years, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The rumors started on the 5th day. Danny was walking through the main corridor when he noticed people looking at him. Engineers he had worked with for years. Technicians he had shared meals with. They whispered to each other as he passed. They pointed and stared. He tried to ignore it. He kept his head down and walked faster. But the whispers followed him everywhere he went. Greg found him in the maintenance bay, hiding behind a broken engine. His friend's face was pale and worried. "Danny, we need to talk." Danny put down his tools. "I know, I have seen the looks." "It is worse than looks." Greg sat down on a crate beside him. "There is a video. Someone recorded you leaving the diplomatic wing at dawn, 3 times this week. The whole station has seen it." Danny closed his eyes. He had been careful. He had used back corridors and maintenance tunnels, but someone had still caught him. "Commander Tran wants to see you," Greg said quietly. "Right now." Commander Lisa Tran was the human liaison officer on Horizon Point. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She had spent 20 years building trust with alien species, and she did not like anything that threatened her work. Danny stood in front of her desk and waited. She did not look up from her computer for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold as ice. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" Danny swallowed. "I did not do anything wrong, we just talked." "Just talked?" Commander Tran laughed, but there was no humor in it. A human engineer spending nights in the quarters of a High Council member, just talking. Do you think anyone will believe that? It is the truth. The truth does not matter. She stood up and walked around her desk to face him. What matters is what people think. What matters is that they are already suspicious of us. They think we are violent and emotional and dangerous. And now one of our people is sneaking into the room of one of their diplomats every night. Danny felt anger rising in his chest. "Ra invited me. She wants to understand humans. She wants to feel something again." Commander Tran's eyes widened. "Ra, you called her by her first name." Danny realized his mistake. He had said too much. "Listen to me very carefully," the commander said. "You will stop seeing her. You will not go anywhere near Deck 14. You will not send her messages. You will not even look in her direction. Is that clear?" Danny's hands were shaking. He wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her that she was wrong, that what he and Ra had was special, that it was worth protecting. But he knew it would not change anything. "Yes, Commander," he said. "Good, now get back to work." Danny left her office and walked through the station in a daze. He felt like someone had reached into his chest and squeezed his heart. He had known this would happen. He had known from the beginning that it could not last, but knowing did not make it hurt any less. He threw himself into his work. He volunteered for every dangerous job he could find. He fixed things on the outer hull of the station, where one mistake could send him spinning into the cold void of space. He told himself it was because he wanted to stay busy. The truth was that he did not care anymore what happened to him. 3 days passed. He did not see Ra, he did not message her, he tried to forget. But she did not forget him. On the 4th day, his terminal beeped with an urgent work request. A console was broken in the diplomatic wing. The council specifically requested a human engineer. The request was signed by Ra. Danny stared at the message. He could refuse. He could send someone else. He could do what Commander Tran had ordered. Instead, he picked up his tools and went. Ra was waiting in a conference room, not her quarters. Others were there too, watching them with cold, curious eyes. One of them was an older male with darker silver skin and deep lines on his face. He looked at Danny the way a scientist looks at a lab specimen. "This is the human?" he asked. "Yes, Elder," Ra said. Her voice was formal, distant, nothing like the way she spoke when they were alone. He is the engineer I told you about. The elder walked around Danny slowly. Danny stood very still and tried not to show fear. Small, the elder said, fragile, short-lived, and yet you find him interesting, Ra. I find humans interesting, she replied. Their capacity for emotion is remarkable. They feel things more deeply than we do, and they use that feeling as fuel. It makes them unpredictable but also creative, resilient. Emotional creatures are dangerous creatures. Perhaps, but they are also brave. This human walked into my room by accident and stayed to talk with me all night. He was afraid, but he did not run. He was curious. Ra looked at Danny, and for just a moment her eyes softened. Curiosity is not a weakness. The elder made a sound that might have been a laugh. You have changed, child. The council is concerned. Let them be concerned. Ra lifted her chin. I have learned more about the universe from this human in 2 weeks than I learned in 300 years of study. That has value. Danny felt something warm in his chest. She was defending him. She was defending them. The elder studied Danny for another long moment. Then he turned and walked away without another word. The other followed him. When they were alone, Ra finally relaxed. She moved closer to Danny, her eyes searching his face. I am sorry, she said. I had to speak to you. I had to see you. When you stopped coming, I thought maybe you had changed your mind. Danny shook his head. I could never change my mind about you, but my commander ordered me to stay away. She said I was putting the alliance at risk. And yet you came anyway. Of course I did. Danny reached out and took her hand. Some things are more important than orders. Ross squeezed his fingers gently. My people are watching me now. They do not trust what is happening between us. There are some who want the alliance with humans to fail. They will use any excuse to make it happen. Danny felt cold fear in his stomach. What does that mean for us? It means we must be careful. It means we cannot see each other openly. She pulled him closer. But it does not mean we have to stop. Danny looked into her violet eyes. He saw the same fear he felt, but he also saw something else. Hope, determination, love. I am not afraid, he said. You should be. Maybe, but I have been afraid my whole life. Afraid of failing, afraid of being ordinary, afraid of losing the people I care about. He smiled. I am tired of being afraid. Whatever happens, I want to face it with you. Ra touched his face with her silver fingers. Her skin was cool against his cheek. Then we will face it together, she said. Outside the conference room, the station continued its slow spin through the stars. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes were watching. Plans were being made. A storm was coming. But in that moment, Danny and Ra did not care about storms. They only cared about each other. The explosion came at midnight. Danny was in his quarters, trying to sleep. He had met Ra earlier that evening in a small storage room on Deck 11. They had talked for 2 hours, holding hands, making plans for a future that seemed impossible but felt real. Then the world turned upside down. The blast knocked Danny out of his bed. He hit the floor hard, his shoulder screaming with pain. The lights went out. Red emergency lights flickered on, painting everything in blood-colored shadows. Alarms screamed through the speakers, so loud he could barely think. He stumbled to his feet and grabbed his communicator. Greg, what happened? Static, then Greg's voice broken and scared. Bombs. Someone planted bombs all over the station. At least 3 explosions so far. The diplomatic wing is hit bad, Danny, real bad. Danny's blood went cold. The diplomatic wing, where Ra lived. He did not think, he did not plan, he just ran. The corridors were chaos. People screamed and pushed past each other. Smoke filled the air, thick and choking. Emergency bulkheads had dropped, sealing off sections of the station. Danny saw families trapped behind metal walls, pounding on the glass, begging for help. He wanted to stop. He wanted to help them, but he could not. He had to get to her. He found a maintenance hatch and climbed inside. The tunnels were cramped and dark. but Danny knew them better than anyone. He had spent years crawling through these spaces, fixing broken pipes and tangled wires. Now that knowledge was going to save his life. Or get him killed. He crawled through smoke and heat. Twice he had to stop when the tunnel shook from more explosions. Once he had to squeeze past a broken pipe that was spraying hot steam. It burned his arm, but he kept going. The pain did not matter. Nothing mattered except reaching Ra. After what felt like hours, he finally reached Deck 14. He kicked open a ceiling panel and dropped into a corridor full of wreckage. The walls were torn open. The floor was covered in debris. The air smelled like burning metal and something worse. Bodies. Danny saw two delegates lying still on the floor. Their silver skin was dark with blood. They were not breathing. He forced himself to keep moving. He stepped over the bodies and pushed through a broken door into what was left of the diplomatic quarters. The room was destroyed. The ceiling had collapsed. A massive support beam lay across the floor. And beneath the beam, trapped and bleeding, was Ra. "Danny," her voice was weak, barely a whisper, "you should not be here." He ran to her side and fell to his knees. She was pinned from the waist down. Silver blood pooled around her body. Her face was pale, paler than he had ever seen it. "I am here," he said. "I am going to get you out." "It is too heavy. You cannot lift it alone." Danny did not listen. He grabbed the beam with both hands and pulled. His muscles burned. His injured shoulder screamed in protest. The beam did not move. He tried again. He planted his feet and pushed with everything he had. Something in his back tore, a sharp hot pain that made him gasp, but the beam shifted, just a little. "Danny, stop. You will hurt yourself." "I do not care." He gritted his teeth and pushed harder. The beam moved another inch, then another. Footsteps behind him. Greg appeared out of the smoke, his face covered in ash and sweat. "Danny, I tracked your communicator signal. What are you?" He saw Ra trapped under the beam. "Oh no." "Help me," Danny said. "Please." Greg did not hesitate. He grabbed the beam beside Danny and together they lifted. The metal groaned. Ra cried out in pain, but the beam rose inch by inch until there was just enough space. "Pull her out," Danny shouted. Greg let go of his end and grabbed Ra under the arms. He dragged her backward as Danny held the beam alone, his arms shaking, his vision going dark at the edges. The moment she was clear, he let go and collapsed beside her. For a long moment, none of them moved. They lay there on the floor of the destroyed room, breathing hard, surrounded by smoke and ruin. Then Danny reached out and took Ra's hand. "I told you," he said between gasps. "I told you I would face it with you." Ra laughed. It was a weak sound full of pain, but it was real. "You are insane." "Maybe, but I am your kind of insane." Greg helped Danny sit up. "We need to move. The whole section is unstable. There could be more explosions." Danny nodded. He looked at Ra's injuries. The bleeding from her legs was slowing, but she needed medical attention soon. Biology was different from human, but blood loss was blood loss. "Can you walk?" he asked. Ra tried to stand. Her legs buckled immediately. Danny caught her before she could fall. "I will carry you," he said. "You are injured, your back." "I will carry you," he repeated. His voice left no room for argument. Greg helped him lift Ra onto his back. She was tall but lighter than he expected. He locked his arms under her legs and started walking. Every step sent fire through his spine. He ignored it. They moved through the ruined corridors toward the evacuation zone. Other survivors joined them, humans and aliens alike, all of them stumbling toward safety. Danny saw a male helping a human child. He saw a human woman carrying an alien elder on her back. In the face of disaster, the differences between species did not seem to matter anymore. They reached the emergency shelter just as Danny's legs gave out. Medical teams rushed forward. They took Ra from his arms and put her on a stretcher. Someone wrapped a blanket around Danny's shoulders and shined a light in his eyes. He did not see any of it. He only watched Ra as they carried her away. Their eyes met across the chaos of the shelter. "Thank you," she mouthed. Then she was gone, disappeared behind a medical curtain. Danny sat there on the cold floor of the shelter, wrapped in his blanket, surrounded by wounded and frightened people. His whole body hurt. His back might never be the same, but none of that mattered. She was alive. He had saved her. Greg sat down beside him and handed him a bottle of water. "You know you almost died back there." Danny took a drink. "I know. You know the whole station is going to find out what you did." "I know. You know this is going to change everything." Danny looked at his friend. Greg's face was tired and dirty, but his eyes were kind. "Yeah," Danny said, "I know." Outside the shelter, rescue teams worked to save the station. Engineers fought fires. Doctors treated the wounded. Security forces searched for the bombers who had done this terrible thing. But Danny did not think about any of that. He thought about violet eyes and silver skin, and a voice like wind through glass chimes. He thought about a night when he walked into the wrong room and found something he never knew he was looking for. He thought about love. And he waited. The bombers were caught 3 days later. They were a radical group who wanted the alliance between humans and to fail. They believed that working with humans made the people weak. They thought that destroying the diplomatic wing and killing human and alike would start a war between the species. They were wrong. Instead of fighting, humans worked together to save the station. Engineers from both species repaired the damage side by side. Doctors shared medical supplies. Families opened their homes to refugees who had lost their quarters in the attack. But not everyone was happy about this cooperation. The High Council arrived on Horizon Point 1 week after the bombing. They came on a massive ship, sleek and silver, that made the station look like a child's toy. They came to investigate what had happened. They came to decide the future of the Alliance. And they came to judge Ra. Danny was not allowed in the council chamber. He stood outside the massive doors, his arm in a sling, his back wrapped in bandages. Commander Tran stood beside him, her face unreadable. "You should not be here," she said. "Where else would I be?" "Anywhere else. This is not your world, Danny. These are not your people. Whatever happens in that room will happen whether you are here or not." Danny shook his head. "I have to be here, even if I cannot do anything, even if I cannot speak. I have to be here for her." Commander Tran was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something Danny did not expect. She put her hand on his good shoulder. "I was wrong about you," she said. "I thought you were putting the Alliance at risk. But what you did in that fire saved more than just Ra. It saved the idea that humans can care about each other. That is worth more than any treaty." Before Danny could respond, the doors opened. A guard stepped out and looked at him with cold, violet eyes. "The human engineer called Danny Cole. The council wishes to speak with you." Danny felt his heart stop. He looked at Commander Tran. She nodded once. He walked into the chamber. The room was huge and dark, lit only by spotlights that shone down on a raised platform. The council sat in a half-circle above him, their silver faces like masks. Elder was in the center, the highest seat. His eyes were empty of any warmth. And there, standing alone on the platform, was Ra. She looked weak. She was leaning on a walking stick, her legs still healing from her injuries. But when she saw Danny, something changed in her face. Her chin lifted. Her shoulders straightened. She was not weak anymore. She was ready to fight. "Danny Cole," Elder said. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "You stand before the High Council to answer for your actions. Do you understand?" Danny swallowed hard. "Yes." "You entered the private quarters of a council member without permission. You formed a personal relationship with her that violated diplomatic protocol. You risked the alliance between our peoples for your own selfish desires. The elder leaned forward. What do you have to say for yourself? Danny looked at Ra. She gave him a small nod. He took a deep breath and spoke. I walked into the wrong room. That was an accident, but everything after that was a choice. I chose to stay and talk with Ra because she was the first person, human or alien, who ever made me feel like I mattered. I chose to keep seeing her because she taught me things about myself that I never knew. I chose to run into a burning building to save her because I love her. The council murmured among themselves. The word love seemed to disturb them. Danny kept talking. I know that you think emotion is weakness. I know that you believe feeling things makes you vulnerable, but you are wrong. Emotion is what makes us strong. It is what drives us to do impossible things. It is what makes life worth living. He looked at each council member in turn. I am just a human. I will live maybe 80 years if I am lucky. I am not smart like you. I am not strong like you. I am not important. He paused. But I was brave enough to love someone who was different from me. I was brave enough to risk everything for her. And I would do it all again, 1,000 times, because that is what love means. The chamber was silent. Even Elder seemed surprised by the force of Danny's words. Then Ra stepped forward. I wish to speak, she said. The elder nodded. You may. Ra turned to face the council. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. Our people abandoned emotion because we believed it made us weak. For 3,000 years we have lived by logic alone. We have achieved great things. We have built ships that cross galaxies. We have lived for centuries without growing old. But we have also lost something precious. She pressed her hand against her chest. We have lost the ability to feel. We exist, but we do not truly live. We are like stars that burn cold forever, while humans are like flames that burn bright and hot and fast. She looked at Danny. Her violet eyes were wet with something that might have been tears. This human taught me that to feel is not weakness. It is the only strength that matters. He ran into fire for me. He lifted a beam that should have been too heavy. He carried me on his broken back because he loved me. Her voice cracked. That is not weakness. That is the most powerful thing I have ever seen. She turned back to the council. You can punish me, you can send me away, but you cannot make me forget what I have learned. Humans are not primitive. They are not dangerous. They are beautiful in all their chaos and feeling and brief bright lives, and I am proud to love one of them. The chamber was silent for a very long time. Danny held his breath. Finally, Elder spoke. 3,000 years ago, we chose to suppress our emotions. We thought we were evolving. We thought we were becoming perfect. He looked at Danny, then at Ra. Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps we were just afraid. He stood up from his seat. The council will not punish Ra. The alliance with humanity will continue, and we will consider whether our ancient choice was truly the right one. Danny felt tears running down his face. He did not care who saw them. Ra walked to him, leaning on her stick. When she reached him, she took his hand in hers. You came, she said. Of course I did. He smiled through his tears. I told you I would face it with you. And we did. She touched his face with her silver fingers. Together. They walked out of the council chamber hand in hand. Behind them, the elders watched in silence. Some of them looked troubled. Some looked thoughtful. And a few, just a few, looked like they were remembering something they had lost long ago. In the years that followed, things changed. Slowly at first, then faster. Began to speak more openly about emotion. Some of them even began to feel again. The alliance between the species grew stronger. A new colony was built where humans and lived side by side. Danny and Ra were married on that colony under alien stars. He was 30 by then, with starting to show in his hair. She looked exactly the same as the night they met. He knew he would grow old. He knew he would die long before her, but she told him that she would rather have 50 years with him than 1,000 years alone. And so they lived, Not forever, but long enough. Long enough to prove that love was worth the risk. Long enough to show two species that feeling was not weakness, but strength. Long enough to be happy. When Danny finally passed, old and still cracking jokes that made her laugh, Ra held his hand and remembered the night a tired human walked into the wrong room. She had not asked him to leave. And in all the ways that mattered, he never did.